Welcome to the Heritage and Model Rail channel. In 2019 I videoed over 150 layouts at model railway exhibitions in England and Scotland. Here are my 10 favourite layouts that are unusual gauges. If you are new to my channel, start now and become a subscriber. Don't forget the bell icon for notifications. This HO gauge layout is Williamson River, exhibited by the Coeur Model Railway Club. Williamson River represents a small industrial line somewhere in British Columbia, Canada, featuring a small terminus station where Bud rail cars take passengers to work. The line has mixed freight services from both Canadian National and Canadian Pacific. A small fuel terminal receives fuel tankers thanks to its track access. Cut lumber is delivered to the timber yard by truck and departs in mixed freight cars. The larger industrial building receives and dispatches multiple boxcars. We purchased the layout in 2017 as we needed a small layout that could be transported by car to exhibitions. It was named in memory of club member and former chairman Gregor Williamson. As Gregor had an interest in Canadian railways, we run mostly CP and CN railroad locos and freight cars, although you will see stock from railroads all over North America. The club has decided to keep the layout on a longer term and completely refurbish it. This has included building a complete new board, replacing 2 individual sections, a full rewire, some new scenery, along with a general overhaul of the layout. The layout is 10 feet by 4 feet across 2 boards, which can be transported by car. Buildings are scratch built and track is Pico Code 75. Stock is Bachmann, Cato and Atlas. My thanks to the Coeur members who helped me mount cameras on wagons and at various places on the layout. Here you can view the layout Glenfinnan, modelled in 4mm fine scale 00 gauge and exhibited by Bill Wood. Glenfinnan is a 4mm fine scale layout based on the West Highland station situated between Fort William and Mallaig. The period modelled is the blue corporate era of the 1970s to late 1980 and concentrates on diesel haul traffic associated with the region at this time. A steam haul service is also modelled in the form of the Jacobite, which makes frequent trips during the summer season. The baseboards are of a modular construction supplied by Tim Horn, and although initially designed as a circular layout, the design was altered later to a U-shape end-to-end to allow for greater flexibility. The layout is wired for DCC and is powered by a Gagemaster Prodigy advanced system. The track system is C&L fine scale with Pico 75 point work, which is operated by Tortoise slow action motors. Stock is a mixture of Bachmann and Heljan with steam provided by Hornby. All the locos have been weathered and have been sound fitted from a variety of different suppliers, which are then tweaked to give the best possible sound and performance. My thanks to Bill for supplying the information. You can view the following layout Campbells Quarry here. Modelled in 16mm scale and exhibited by John Campbell. This quirky little industrial model is based around 2 sand pits, each with its own working Ruston Bicrus 10RB digger, one of the dragline type and one with a face shovel. The pits are served by a narrow gauge railway employing a battery operated and radio controlled diesel locomotive. The sand is excavated from one pit, placed in the railway tippers and transferred to the other where it is automatically unloaded. After shunting, the sand will then be scooped into the tippers and transported to the original pit, where it is again automatically unloaded. The ultimate recycling layout. Having a lie-in, modelled in 009 gauge and presented by Andy Bailey. The layout has Welsh origins, hence the name, although you will realise the name isn't Welsh if you say it the English way. The grounds of the ruined castle on the hill now belong to the local golf club, who have constructed a very scenic golf course. The pier is of timber construction with each upright individually screwed into place. Most of the buildings are scratch built in linker and plasticard. 2 of the roofs are genuine hand-cut Welsh slate, and 3 roofs are thatched with plumber's hemp in pendant style. The sea is literally dozens of coats of non-drip varnish on a mixture of sand and ballast. The beach is real sand from our local sand quarry and is about 20mm deep. There are over 200 figures on the layout. The track is Pico Crazy Track with seep electrics and ballasted with a mixture of granite, limestone and sand. Most of the stock is kit built with a few scratch built items.
Yeah, I'm Stan Moog. I'm with the Perth Model Railway Group. Today we're exhibiting our layout to the Coeur dAlene Railway, which is an American themed layout. The rather interesting thing about this layout is its unusual scale to gauge ratio. It's modelled in 1/4 inch to the foot scale, which is O gauge on double O gauge track. In this case we use the Pico narrow gauge track. So the correct classification for this scale is ON30. The railway is set in the USA, in the state of Idaho, in the 1930s, and represents the small town of Rockford Bay, which is on the edge of the lake, to depict a ferry terminal. The ferry terminal can be seen on the right hand side of the layout and features a tug and a barge which is being loaded with wagons. So the main industries in this town are lumber and mining. So there's also a very scant passenger service. The line is built primarily to handle freight. So you can see various shunting manoeuvres and loading of trains on and off the barge. There's also an off-scene fiddle yard to depict the rest of the line. This layout is quite old. In fact, it was built a number of years ago by one of our members and uses DC control analogue. So the locomotives are conventionally controlled using gauge master controllers. The locomotives are all from Bachmann, and the rolling stock also similarly from Bachmann, with a few kit built items as well. The main scratch building on this layout is actually the town itself. The buildings are mostly scratch built or kit built, but with lots of modifications. In this scale, it's possible to use real timber to model architecture. So the fun is in fact taking timber and modelling it. So, and of course, in America in the 1930s, timber was very, very plentiful, and most of the buildings were constructed such. This layout actually is very easy to assemble and very easy to operate, which gives us lots of interaction time with the general public. On the left-hand end of the layout, as viewed, there's a coal loading hopper as well, which is very interesting. The children in particular love watching the train being loaded. So from a mechanical and electrical point of view, the layout is very, very, very simple and works really well.
Here you can view the layout Tref Berg, modelled in HO gauge and exhibited by Renfrewshire Model Railway Club. Tref Berg is a mythical town which has its origins in Bavaria. Cross-border workings between Germany, Austria, Switzerland and Italy are commonplace. The aim of the layout is to replicate this scene, to be able to show a variety of express, local and freight workings which seem to be able to exist happily together in real life. We have created a typical small town which, in addition to its main line, complete with Hauptbahnhof, main station, also features a tramway system which serves the town and outlying villages in the surrounding countryside. This is the Treftelbahn, which makes its way as a tramway in the town and as a light railway in the country, where it passes through typical alpine scenery before returning to the interchange point at Tref Berg Hauptbahnhof, where trains, trams and buses all come together as an integrated transport link. The stock running on the tramway again replicates the type seen in the towns and cities in the region. The layout consists of 4 boards, giving a total length of 8 metres. The baseboards are mostly plywood or chipboard on a wooden frame, and the country scenery is polystyrene covered with dental plaster. Although the trees were purchased, the greenery is created by flock sprinkled onto wet gloss paint. The buildings are all scratch built from mountboard, and whilst most are creations of the imagination, 1 or 2 are modelled on real buildings in the Tyrol area of Austria. The buildings are designed to give a sense of depth to the layout, and this is complemented by a back scene which expands the town area and takes the eye into the distant mountains. The track consists of an inner and outer circuit with scenery on the front only, entering the tunnels at each end of the layout. Coming out of the tunnel at the town end of the layout, the tracks divide to give 3 lines in each direction through the station, 2 giving platform access and 1 which can be used as a bypass. Out of sight at the rear of the layout are tracks in each direction, which give plenty storage and allow for a variety of trains to be seen at exhibitions. The tramway, which operates as a single circuit at an elevated level, also has 4 storage roads at the rear. This EM gauge 4mm scale layout is Wainthrop Bridge, exhibited by Simon Howard. The layout depicted here is an imaginary single-track branch line of the LYR based around the late 1920s. The buildings on the layout are based on actual prototypes. The station building is based on Cleckheaton, signal box is based on Entwistle, and a goods shed a stone version of Liversedge. All buildings are built from scratch with card and plasticard. Measuring 12 feet by 18 inches, there are 2 scenic boards and 1 fiddle yard board. The track work on the layout is hand-built to EM gauge standards, making use of parts from the C&L fine scale range using separate sleepers and chairs. Point work is made operational by means of wire and tube and rotating levers, and utilises microswitches for changing the polarity on the points. The stock used on the layout is a mixture of kit and scratch-built items. Most of the rolling stock and the locos are compensated to aid reliable running. Automatic uncoupling is utilised by means of the Spratt and Winkle hook and bar method, with permanent magnets strategically placed around the layout. The scenery is built using styrene, card and paper, to name a few. Woodland Scenics and Green Scene Scenic Flock was used to create foliage, and car insulation fibre used for grassy areas. My thanks to Simon for providing the information. You can view the following layout Purbeck here. Modelled in 009 4mm scale, 9mm gauge, and exhibited by John Thorne.
This is my layout Purbeck, which is a layout which represents the ball clay industry of the Isle of Purbeck in Dorset. The line was used for transporting ball clay and survived until about 1970. All the stock is scratch built, engines, wagons, coaches, etc., and buildings. And the idea of the layout was to represent the ball clay industry, which is mining, weathering, and then processing the clay, but at the same time extend the layout so that we could run a range of narrow gauge items on the line. There are a number of prototypical items that we use on the layout, such as models of the original engines, models of the original wagons. There's a model of the original foreman's hut. So mixed with authenticity is a little bit of whimsy.
Here you can view the layout Eaglesham, modelled in 00 gauge and exhibited by Bill Auld from the 12 AD Model Railway Group. Eaglesham is a 4mm 00 gauge layout set to the south of Glasgow in 1912. The layout features a station with run-round loop, goods yard with shed, and cattle dock and rail-served dairy. The real village of Eaglesham was never connected to the rail network, although there were at least 3 proposals mooted, but none of these ever came to fruition. The track plan is based upon East Kilbride, as it was at the turn of the 20th century. This was chosen because although East Kilbride looked like a through station, it was never operated as such, and was a terminus for trains from Glasgow and trains from Hamilton. The track work is a mixture of SMP Code 75 plain track with hand-built point work. Recently the train control has been upgraded to DCC and the point control to servos, along with a full rewiring. Total size is 28 feet by 2 feet over 7 boards, 5 scenic and 2 fiddle yard boards. Pre-grouping ready-to-run rolling stock is somewhat thin on the ground, so all locos, passenger and goods stock have been built from kits from a variety of sources, or are scratch built. Locos in passenger and freight liveries, representing small yard shunters to express passenger and heavy freight examples, can be seen on Eaglesham. Passenger stock varies from 6-wheel to bogie examples in different liveries, and goods stock in a motley collection of private owner and company vehicles. My thanks to Bill for supplying the information. This 009 scale layout is Ronnie Bog, exhibited by David and Rob Waller. Ronnie Bog is a model of Bethgelert Station on the rebuilt West Highland Railway, depicted around 2009-2010, when the railway was reopened from Riddhu through Bethgelert and through the Aberglaslyn Pass to the south. It is more than just a model of Bethgelert Station and encompasses the first of the famous 1 in 40 S-bends climbing away from the north into the Bethgelert Forest, and to the south the layout also features Goat Tunnel and the notorious Bridge to Nowhere, a relic of the ill-fated Porthmadog, Bethgelert and South Snowdon Railway. The finished layout is huge by 009 standards, with trains truly running through the landscape. The station itself with its passing loop is being built to scale, and the platform can accommodate an authentic length rake of 12 carriages behind one of the monster NGG16s. The layout measures 20 feet by 10 feet across 14 boards and requires 3 operators. All buildings are scratch-built scale representations of rail buildings. Track is Pico with analogue control. Stock is 90% scratch built with some kits. My thanks to Rob and David for the information. To view more exhibition layouts, click on the playlist. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon.